Hey everybody, what's up? Just Aaron here, Question Period Canada. You know how most politicians, we know, they're all clowns, but some of them seem like legitimate people, like maybe they're relatable even. Ben Lobb is an MP from Ontario. He's a wild guy, but he's big into agriculture and fighting, and has been fighting for this carbon tax to be relieved of Canadians, especially Canadian farmers. Bill C-234 was his baby, but it got smashed in the Senate, and they're still trying to keep that above board, breathing, alive, and maybe they're going to do it. He sounds like he's still fighting for Canadian farmers.
Can I get your reaction to the latest with C-234, your private member's bill?
Obviously, I feel disappointed for Canadian farmers. The amendment that was passed last night, in a way, guts the bill and really diminishes the opportunity that was there so close to have a good result for Canadian farmers. And I mentioned in the House of Commons yesterday, a pork farmer just down the road from where I grew up. His natural gas bill for the month of February was $4,300, and the carbon tax charge on that bill was $3,300. So obviously, that's not fair. And the senators who are Liberal-appointed senators that voted for the amendment, I really don't know what they're thinking, because they really missed the boat on this one and could have provided a great opportunity for farmers. Pork farming and other commodity type farming is not high margin business, it's low margin, and every little bit helps, and this would have been a great help for them.
What are the next steps now from your side of things?
Well, it's quite a procedural study, I think you would say. There's a lot of different opportunities. I think it still depends on if there's more amendments to come. If there's any other the Liberal-appointed senators that want to put any more amendments forward, that really will be up to them, of course, with their independence they have over there in the Senate. And then I think eventually there will be a final vote, and then it likely will be coming back to the House of Commons, I think. So it's long. I think it's still going to be quite a long ways. But obviously, the amendment that passed last night really did a lot of damage to the full intent of the bill. So.
I was going to say, it did pass the House the first time around. Do you think that there's room for it to come back to the House and the amendments be stripped and
that all can happen? Yes. Yeah.
Do you think there's enough will there to do that?
I think.
My name is Marika Walsh with the Globe and Mail. You just laid out the tough economic times that Canadians are facing. You say you're seized with the issue. Did you consider that backdrop when you decided to take an $80,000 free vacation?
Still have sand in his ears from his Jamaican vacation.
I thank my honourable colleague for his question. But being a farmer, I fully understand how important environmental plan is for the government. I'm sorry, but his party does not have an environmental plan. We as a government do have an environmental plan.
So, but the time frame is a lot longer when you have to bring it back this way. In the normal course of a private member's, there's second reading, which is a limited amount of time, third reading, and the committee. So it is a very finite amount of time. This is unlimited, unless there's some rural Liberal MPs that are able to make the case to the broader Liberal Party that it's already been dealt with at the House of Commons. Let's just get it dealt with and move on, because I think obviously they likely have heard from their constituents, and some of the Liberal members of Parliament from New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and certainly Prince Edward Island, and even a guy like Adam Van Couverton, who does have a little bit of a rural part in his Milton riding, they would have all been hearing from their farmers about this, and they know what the message would be from them.
Can I ask you, this is your private member's bill. Private member's bills are not always easy to get through. It was kind of at the final stages in the Senate here. What has this process been like for you? How are you feeling with your bill being at this point now?
Well, I would say it was a team effort, to be honest. John Barlow did a great job, and a lot of the other members of Parliament on Ag Committee and the rural members, they have as much ownership in this as I do, I feel. And David Wells he's a fantastic individual, and so he's a really collegial type person to take a bill on like this. So it's been a good learning experience, even though I've been around a long time. The Senate, you really learn it is a different, it's a different setup than it is in the House of Commons. So good learning all the way around.
How are you feeling though about it at this point now that there was all these potentials for it to be, like you said, quite a time before it could potentially be passed?
I played a lot of sports in my life, and I know that it's never really over until you get the last out in the 9th inning, and we're not quite in the last out in the 9th inning. It might be the top of the 9th, but it's not the bottom of the 9th.
Thanks for.
Do you think, I'll just ask you one more question. Do you think that this bill would have had a different trajectory if the Liberals hadn't gone ahead and done the carve-out on home heating fuel in the Atlantic and had already done that thing, and that's the reason this bill is now not sailing through, or do you think they're not connected?
It's a good question. It's hard to say. I think maybe in one way, you know, originally I thought maybe because some of the senators had defended it so much, why they should vote against it, and then the Prime Minister did a carve-out, maybe they might have felt a little betrayed that, you know, they've held the line for him in the Senate, and then he did that, but, you know, it was only one vote, so, and it was pretty close. I think that's just how close it is, but we'll see. We'll see. And then, of course, there's been at least 5 or 6 senators appointed since my bill has been in the Senate too. So that didn't, you know, you take those 5 out and it passes. Or, you know, the motion, the amendment would have failed last night. So anyhow, that's good.
For stopping to talk.
Thanks, Ben.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
So that video is from about 6 weeks ago, and the Liberals have remarkably dug their heels in even deeper on this battle. Let's see how things are going with that bill now.
Stop and talk a minute about what you're anticipating might happen or not happen with that.
Well, that's a great question. We'll have to see what the other parties are planning on doing. My estimation is that the Bloc and the NDP and the Green Party will continue to support it. It's pretty rare that a private member's bill gets sent back from the Senate. There's just a few times in the last 10 years or more that that's actually happened, so we'll see how it goes.
What are Canadians' priorities right now going into this sitting?
What are Canadians' priorities? Well, I think Canadians' priorities is obviously inside their household, and it's the cost of living, it's the cost of their mortgage, it's the cost of their car payment if they have one, it's the cost of their bills. And I mean, if you think about it now, here we are at the end of January, there's going to be a big heating bill come likely in February for January. So they're thinking about that, and they're likely still thinking about paying for Christmas. So it's a lot on Canadians' plates right now, and it doesn't matter if you're, you know, a family of 4 or you're a retired couple at home in a city or a small town. It's very expensive to live right now.
Ben, back to your bill. Do the Conservatives plan to accept the amendments the Senate made to it?
No, that's another procedural thing everybody would be interested in, and so there's an opportunity for the, I guess you'd call it the author of the private member's bill to reject those amendments, and so I did that last week or 2 weeks ago and filed it. So when it's brought up tomorrow for debate, first thing in the morning, it'll be like it was 2 years ago in its original form. Okay?
Thanks very much.
To me, that just seems like a legitimate person, a nice guy. Ben Lobb seems like he's a pretty good guy. Like, these politicians are really hard to trust, I find, anyhow. These are a couple of other ones that we'll be doing stories on in the near future.
After 8 years of this NDP Liberal government, it's clear the Prime Minister is not worth the cost. He gave us 3 different versions of his Jamaican vacation. First, he claimed he was paying all the expenses for his family's stay. Secondly, he claimed he was staying at no cost at a location owned by a family friend. And then he claimed that he and his family stayed with friends. Now, all 3 different versions cannot be accurate at the same time. Which version did he tell the Ethics Commissioner? 8
years, senior public servants have spoken out about lies and abusive process in the Arrive scam scandal. We've now learned that shortly after their critical whistleblowing testimony, these senior public servants were put on leave without pay. They were told they were under investigation less than 3 weeks after their testimony, and they were suspended before the investigation had even concluded. This NDP Liberal government is punishing public servants for their Arrive Can testimony. What are these Liberals trying to hide with this retaliation and intimidation of witnesses?
Here, here. What are you hiding? 8 years, this Prime Minister, he's just not worth the chaos and crime. Mr. Speaker, Canadian businesses across the country are being extorted by international gangsters because of the NDP Liberal government's ideological soft on crime policies. Businesses and family homes are being shot at. In Edmonton, since November, over a dozen houses under construction by different home builders have been burnt down. It was this government that made it easier for criminals to get bail and allowed for shorter jail terms by scrapping mandatory minimum sentences. Mr. Speaker, when will they start cracking down on serious crime?
Predecessor who was fired from the gig. You cannot live in a photo op. The videos won't bring warmth to the 300,000 people without homes. His tweets won't help the single mom who's trying to make her mortgage payment next month. And his press conferences will not help the thousands of young people trying to move out of their parents' basement. Why won't he stop subsidizing the bureaucracy who are blocking construction and focus on getting builders with shovels in the ground?
That's right. Just a quick look at some of the politicals that we'll be examining. There are some really cool people in this Conservative Party, like Lanceman is one of them, Uppel is one of them. There are so many, like Barlow is cool, Barrett is cool. There's a long list. I'm not a conservative. I'm a libertarian. Like, I believe in much less government than we have in Canada. But these are the options that it looks like Canadians have. And in my opinion, the best option we have reasonably for the next election are going to be the Conservatives, Poilievre, hopefully with a majority. So maybe some drastic changes could take place. Who knows? Like, it's the government, right? Like, we might get, like, kind of screwed on that end too, but it's better to hope, right? Like, and a Band-Aid over a gushing wound is better than just a gushing wound. Not to be like that. Like, we're having fun here with Canadian politics, and we are learning a lot. I do need you to do me this favor. Let me know what you'd like to see about the videos, that just what you'd like to see. Imagine like what we could do here. I can probably do whatever. I just don't know what that is, and so I'm just doing these things that I'm doing, hoping that people like it. But now, like, I think we're building an audience where we can interact and they can tell me what they want to see. Like, if they want to see the whole question and answer, we can do that. We do that, like, in our live stuff, and I just need to be told, like, what people really do want to see more of. Anyway, we're having a lot of fun with it, and it's going very well. My name's Aaron. This is Question Period Canada, having fun with Canadian politics. Hoping that everybody had something healthy to eat and are going to be able to stay warm tonight. It's been a lot of fun. We hit 10,000 subscribers, guys. Like, we're going to grow. So share it with somebody, like, get notified. We've got videos coming. They'll help us all learn about Canadian politics. We'll do that together. Like, I'm not on a side. Like, I'm not like a... I just cheer for the people at the grocery store. And lately, there hasn't been much to cheer for. Okay, get going. We'll catch you next video. Thanks for watching. Parliament's back in session. Ben Lobb is a practical MP from Ontario fighting against the carbon tax.
Again, and talk about Bill C-234. Groundhog Day is just a few days away, and it feels like Groundhog Day again on this bill, Bill C-234. It was basically 2 years ago, to almost to the day, that I presented this important bill
to the agricultural community and the backstop provinces to help provide some relief, in the form of carbon tax exemption for the on-farm use when you're heating your livestock barns and when you're drying your crops. And it's really added up in the last 2 years, and it's going to continue. It's going to continue to cost.
I do like that Ben LOBB. He's interesting. Like and subscribe. We know all the politicians right here. We've got them every day.